That I am not the greatest thing that God ever created.
Stay up.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, Grenada, Carriacou, and Peachy Martinique. You're listening to Hard Talk Grenada. A very special good morning to those of you joining us on 97.5 CitysoundFM, 89.5 CRFM, 91.9 and 91.5 RealFM radio. Good morning to those of you joining us on the live videos as well. It's always a pleasure to be there with you. Those of you in Carriacou joining us on 92.9 Sister Ral Radio broadcasting from Hillsborough, and of course those of you joining us on 94.9 We Noise Radio out there in Brooklyn, New York. Good morning to all of you. Good morning to everyone. It is a lovely Wednesday morning here in the Spice Isle of Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. And with me, of course, in studio, I have none other than Mr. Roland Bola. Good morning, Mr. Bola.
Good morning to you, Ms. Duncan, and good morning to all our listeners out there. I was out yesterday. I know it was post-cabinet briefing. I did not get the opportunity to hear all of it, just a small bit, since I was otherwise engaged in a meeting outside of the facility. But I trust that all our listeners did have a good day yesterday, that you have all arise this morning feeling rejuvenated, feeling that you can take on the problems that the world is going to throw at you, always remembering that it is not the fastest and the swiftest that survive, but those who can adapt. I really want to wish you a very productive Wednesday it is today. I don't know, Ms. Duncan, we should have had the Senate, and I understood that the info came out late yesterday afternoon that there's a postponement. I don't know
it's
when.
actually going to be on Friday.
On Friday of this week.
On Friday
yes?
of this week, yeah.
Right. So for those who thought they weren't going to hear us today, because we did indicate that today should have been the Senate sitting, and that is normally carried live. It will be on Friday, God's willing. And so we hope you would sit back, relax, or do whatever you're doing by the kitchen, in the office, wherever. If you have your phones on, your small transistor, you're listening via Facebook, whatever platform. We really hope that today's interaction will be very interesting and, as per usual, educating and productive.
Absolutely. Now, Mr. Bola, we have, of course, one very important topic that we want to get to today. And, of course, we're going to open the lines very early. I promised, because usually what happens when we open the lines later down, you get a lot of people trying to call all at the same time. Okay. So we're going to open the lines very early. This morning we're discussing the reopening of schools, which is scheduled to happen on Monday. We know that the Minister for Education will be addressing the nation tonight at 8. So all parents, all teachers, principals, interested parties should definitely tune in to ensure that you get the valuable information that you need that will guide you for the upcoming opening of schools. There's so much to talk about as it relates to the opening of schools, Mr. Bola. We have the issue of the tablets, the e-learning devices. There are still people out there concerned about the price, and of course sharing that concern via social media.
May I stop you for a moment, Ms. Duncan, if I may? Mm-hmm. Yes?
Go ahead.
I think it's even incorrect to say that people are concerned about the price.
The price, yeah.
Because it's really not a price for the tablet. No one is asked to pay for the tablet. From my understanding, you're not paying a price. You are paying what is referred to as a registration fee or a license fee. You are paying $50 per school year, not per term, for a school year, so that your child has access, not just to the device,
but to the ecosystem, as the
definitely
as the chief education officer referred to it as an ecosystem. This morning I was listening to his interview on one of the other programs, and he did make it a point to mention that the device comes with so much more than just the ebooks that we expect it to have. It comes with, as he said, there is going to be the Microsoft Office suite, and for those people who don't know what that is, 365 suite. It's actually where the children can use Microsoft Word and Microsoft Word and Microsoft PowerPoint, and all of these things are incorporated into that. And remember, they have to pay subscription fees and so on for all of these things. So I heard a comment that, oh, in election time, they say we gain free devices. Look, now they're making us pay $50. And the minister made it absolutely clear that the $50 is not for the device, but it's for the ecosystem in which the device is going to be involved in, all of the background work that it entails. All of these things have to be taken into consideration. So it's basically just a registration fee so that the children will have access to these amenities that come with the device.
Well, of course, because and even before the devices arrived here in Grenada, on many occasions, it was explained that, look, just bringing a device, because, there were some people making a fun of it. Well, where's the tablets that was promised? We want the tablet. What do you do with it if you just get it?
Absolutely.
Right? And there were platforms that had to be built. There were structures that had to be set up. There was content that must go onto it, because the device in and of itself is useless to the children. A tablet empty with no content
is useless.
Is useless. The teachers would have nothing that they can use. The students will have nothing. So you had to put in all of this content, which took time, which took money, which took work. As the Minister for Infrastructure Development explained, and some time ago I said it, without bringing in the kind of a service, broadband service in terms of the internet, the tablet themselves would be of no use. Absolutely. Because you need to have that connectivity that can expose you to the world of information. Yeah. All of those things. So there are some people who are ignorant of those issues, and for them I forgive, because they really do not know. In their minds, what they know is that we need to have the device, we need to have the tablet, and that is about it for them. But there are many others who understand that just a tablet by itself, without all the other amenities, the broadband service, the ability to plug into the internet and instantly get what you're looking for with no delays, to do research, the ebooks that are uploaded onto the devices, and the connectivity, the content, the control. Because again, if you do not have a team of people in place that have control over these thousands of devices that will eventually end up in the hands of impressionable young teenage boys and girls, it can be used, and we know that the internet has the capability. It has been proven for pornography and all sorts of other stuff, yes, that are not the stuff that you would want these youngsters to be engaged in. All of these have to be put in place. All of these come with a cost. So even at $50 for use of the device is really a drop in the ocean. And the minister, some time ago, a week or so ago, when we had the limited opportunity to have a few words with her, I remember asking her if it is at all possible to compute the cost of getting a device to a student, to a child, with all of the content and everything else, and the controls mechanism and everything else that you put, if you can quantify the cost so that the nation, the parents, the naysayers can understand once and for all, this is what it is costing the government. So I know that there was mention coming from the Ministry of Education, close to $2 million, I think 1.9 or $2 million, whatever. I hope my what I'm saying is the truth, because there's so much million figures going around for so many different things.
Well, I'll tell you this, Mr. Bola.
For the cost of the device.
Right. She said, I remember her saying that it's $1,200 per device, and multiplied by 9,600 devices.
Okay.
Now
right.
multiply that, and if we
So
do
it's
it,
1,000.
that's $11,520,000.
Okay, well, I didn't do it. 1,000, just tell me.
$1,200 per device.
$1,200 per device.
Right. Multiply that by the 9,600 devices that were already
9,600 devices. And that is for the secondary school.
Secondary level.
And maybe tertiary level too, or is it going to national college?
I've only
students?
heard mention of secondary. I
right.
haven't heard anything
Okay.
about tertiary yet.
Okay.
Not that there isn't an intention maybe, but we just don't know.
We don't know. Okay, good.
Right.
So whatever that calculation will be, which I will do in my spare time, I would see that's the overall cost. But that $1,200 is what acquiring the device costs. That does not include, in my opinion, and I hope I'm correct here, all of the content and the broadband services that we need, which is hooked up with Digicel, as far as I understand. Because in fact, in an interview, the minister, or in a statement, the Minister for Infrastructural Development spoke to the fact that government had to enter into a PPP agreement with Digicel, because in order to have all of these devices operational, functional, in an effective and efficient way, with everyone else who is using the internet, they had to get that broadband service. Remember that undersea cable that I spoke about, which actually came out in the Conference Bay area up into the constituency where I live, the neighboring community to La Poterie, and they had Digicel bringing in all these people, foreign people. Recently, we saw them on all the poles working. Hundreds of millions of dollars it costs to improve the internet service to ensure that these devices will work efficiently and effectively. And government had to enter into that arrangement with Digicel, where Digicel will come up with the funding up front. I think government must have put in a couple of $1 million as well, 10 or more, or just about, from grants and loans that they got different places. But over $100 million was put out by the company Digicel. Now, what would happen over time? Government of Grenada has to repay that money to Digicel, so that government then becomes the owner of that software, of that broadband service, yes, which they are providing freely to all schools and other government institutions. So, I mean, it may be a little bit complicated for a lot of us to fully comprehend, you know. A good friend of mine will say, well, there are many minds that are confuffled as a result of those explanations you're giving, but I do not want to further confuffle you with what I'm saying, but just to try as best I can to give a basic understanding. We have to understand as a people, our government, whichever party they're from that is voted into office, does have a responsibility to create an environment that is good, that is conducive, so that our children can learn. And we're talking basically education now. When we're talking about business, we'll tell you that they have to provide a conducive business environment as well. Also for agriculture, for sports, and for everything else. But in terms of education, that is the responsibility of government. So we must have the physical buildings. That again is where consistently this government has been spending millions and millions and millions. When they're not building new schools, they are refurbishing. To the extent, look, the Grenada Seventh-day Adventist, which is in Montrose, close to $8 million is being spent for expansion, refurbishment. They're now going to have 2 science labs, as they say, extension of the library, better accommodation for the staff, a proper principal's room, the secretary or office. I mean, would have additional classes. The Grenada Christian Academy, which now is operating out of Paul's and housed from small buildings from the church. They too, the lands have been acquired and vested in the Ministry of Education. We'll be getting a brand new school building soon to start. The designs are in the final stages. End of 2020 into early 2021, we should see boots on ground and construction starting. That's $15-20 million again. We have the Bishop's College in Carriacou, which any day from now we'll see the sword turning ceremony, which is going to consist of some $10 million in expenditure to fully refurbish, rehabilitate, or probably even construct what in the minds of a lot of people will be a brand new school building. And there are several others, a little less, some about the same amount, and I don't want to get into the list of all of them, but I'm making those points to see that the government of the day, the government led by Dr. the Honorable Keith Mitchell and his team, the Minister for Education, Honorable Emmeline Pierre, and every other minister who sits in cabinet will consciously decide that we can now enter into a loan agreement, we can seek grants, we can ask for funding, because it is absolutely necessary for us to do what we're doing. Look, the Anglican primary school in Sutton, only last year, I think, thereabout, they had a complete refurbishment and additional rooms where they can now house properly a lot of the students. The McDonald's College in Sutton, several of those. I think as we speak, the Samaritan or Shantimel primary, some remedial work is being done with the windows and other repairs. Going to be up into the $70,000 or $80,000 worth of work. And it's going island-wide. Why is that happening? Where is the money coming from? In a time when the administration is saying to you, like the rest of the world, that the advent of COVID-19 has brought significant economic pressures on all economies, especially small and open economies like ours, where revenue collection has dipped. A month or two ago, we were told that we were collecting just about 50% of what was expected. I think that has increased slightly to now about 60%. So there's about a 40% drop as we speak. Now, things can get better as well as it can get worse. With a resurgence of COVID, it means that we may have to go back into a lockdown, can dissipate the present situation, make it worse than it is. However, the government knows that it has that moral obligation, and they are doing the best they can in the present situation that we are in. So I want to appeal to persons out there. And sometimes it is not, like I've said before, sometimes it's not necessarily the parents or the guardians of some of the children who will receive the device. Many a times it's just people who are bent on making mischief. They don't have a child that goes to school. They don't care about a child. They won't even buy a notebook and a pencil and give it to a child to say, I give that to you as a gift so that you can, press forward and you can get a good education. They won't ask a needy student, do you need a book for school? They spend the money on whatever they wish to, which is their right, of course. I mean, I have my money. I do what I want with it. It's mine. But they continue to complain and they continue to post things on Facebook and other media platforms that brings doubts in people's mind, that gives people an impression that this government doesn't care about them, that they're so wicked, that they're charging you $50 for the tablets which they promise you for free. $50 can't pay for a tablet. Any one of you can call any of the stores that sell similar devices and find out what kind of price it will cost for one of those.
But Mr. Bola, also, even some of the subscriptions that they have, when we're looking at Office 365 and so on, to get the license for these devices, for these software and so on, $50 can't even pay for that. $50 cannot even pay for that.
We know.
So, I mean, it's ridiculous, for lack of a better word.
Well, it is, yeah? It is, Ms. Duncan. But, at the same time, I do not want to go flat out just blaming parents. Mm-hmm. Because in some instances, I believe in my gut that some of the comments are not coming from parents.
From parents, and I agree. Some of them come from people who don't have, what you say it in local parlance, chick not check. But they're complaining. We have a caller on the line. Good morning.
Morning.
Hi, good morning.
I want a song a bit selfish this morning.
And that's your right. We'll listen anyway.
All right. No, listen. I want you to listen because you're depending on the vote. But listen to me. Now I hear what you're saying, that maybe there are parents who cannot afford the device. But and these the same parents who have the latest phones
Well, some
and the
may.
latest not all.
Not all. Some, yes, I agree.
Obviously, not all. I'm not saying, And if one has to buy a tablet or a laptop or whatever it is a couple $100 they have to put out.
Well, it must be 1,000 plus, yeah? I believe that.
What?
1,000 and up, I believe.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
So my point is, okay, yes, the government is going to be paying. I would expect that the government will have to pay the, how must call it, for want of a better word, the internet services. I'm
Yes.
not talking about in person's homes,
Yes.
but the use of the service. They have to pay, the government has to pay whatever other cost. So to my mind, I don't know why at least parents cannot contribute something more than the $50. Now you say $50 is a contribution reward for the device. Now what guarantee we have that these children are going to take care of the device? Is the device going to last them for the 5 years of school? Most likely not. Are they going to be careless and have this attitude, free come, free go? Some of them being very well supported by their parents with that kind of attitude. When there is a genuine problem with the device, because it's humans we're dealing with.
Yes.
And things can happen. There could even be a faulty device that a child unfortunately get. Who is going to be paying for the replacement of those devices?
Right.
How would you be able to see that the devices are properly maintained? I don't know if that is even possible. And as I say, it's human beings we're dealing with. And children would be children. But I am a bit concerned that, another thing, you said the $50 would be $50 a year.
Yes.
Yes.
$50 a year is nothing. And I'm going to ask you a question, Mr. Bola.
Go right ahead, my dear.
Is it that the government is saying $50 because you're afraid that the other people go say, they promise them free tablet? Where they free?
Well, they're already saying it with the $50. So.
I'll answer you when you're finished. I'm taking notes.
Yes. So, to my mind, there is absolutely nothing wrong with them paying for the devices. Okay, so to me, it's like it's a rental.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And you're saying $50 a year. Of course, if a child needs another one before the year is up, who is footing that replacement cost?
Yeah.
The devices, and everything they make nowadays is for temporary use. How long is it expected to last a child?
Yeah.
And these kind of things. So to my mind, parents is to ask parents to pay a little more than $50 a term. I don't see that as a big sacrifice. Of course, there would be one or two people. There are some people who would not be able to do that, regardless of how you look at it. But I have a problem with the fact that, put it this way, my taxpayers' money is going into that. Mind you, I have to be careful about my attitude because I cannot afford to build road for me to walk on. So the person who is paying a bigger tax than me, they are also contributing for me to have a nice road to walk and drive on. So I have to make sure that I understand that we need each other.
Definitely.
But I'm thinking that in needing each other, it does not mean that I have to cast all my burdens on somebody else. I must be willing to make sacrifices. And being the person I am, I know the scripture says to bear one another burdens, but it also says that each man must look into their own affairs and bear their burdens.
Yeah.
you know. And I am thinking, well, I'm telling you,
Tell me.
I want to believe all you only charge them $50 because they go make a noise if you all charge more. But it is not unreasonable. It is not unreasonable. Okay, the next thing I could say is, if anything, I would talk to my darling after.
All right.
After and talk to her.
Okay.
But, and it's not something negative, eh?
Yes.
But I don't want to be, kind of thing. But I am saying that parents need to be responsible for their children too. Even last night, I think it was, or this morning, sometime I was listening to a rebroadcast of the opposition leader. Well, not opposition, but the other party leader. And one of the things generally was about conflict resolution and so. And you have these subjects in school, and the ministry cancel it, for want of a better word. I'm not trying to, think. And I am saying to myself, but where are the parents?
Yeah.
Where are the parents? And I think in our education system, in our social system, something needs to be done about parents. I'm a parent too. And if I fall in the category, well, I fall in the category. But I think sometimes our governments take on the problems that individual people need to take on for themselves. I know I sound selfish.
No. You're on the right track.
I saying it. Parents need to be responsible for their children. I know what it is at one time in my life to see my mother put pin in her, what we used to call it, hula hoop slippers, to make sure her children have shoes to go to school. But nowadays they're not doing that. They want to have the fanciest hairstyles and the latest clothes, and the government must mind them. I find that is real stress now. Anyway, have a good day, darling.
Well, thank you so very much.
Thank you so much for your comment.
I mean, this caller gave us more than a mouthful to think about. As she said, in some ways it may sound a little selfish, but she's absolutely on the ball and correct with so many things. Now, let me just answer a few of the things that she wanted to know. One, I am not a member of government, so she said, Mr. Bola, are you free there? So, not me. I am no longer in government, my dear. I gave up in the 2018 election after contesting 3 times and being successful. The people of St. Andrews Northeast had placed their confidence in me. I had other issues that I needed to look after that would take more of my attention, so I had to honestly say to the people, look, while I still love you and would want to be there for you, going forward and asking for your support again for another time, I may disappoint a lot of you because, I had other family issues, health issues and what have you, that I had to now spend more time on. And I just did not believe, I was not convinced that I was going to be able to handle all of them and give each of them the appropriate time and attention that they needed. So I opted to let someone else who probably had more time than I did and can dedicate more time for the service of the people to do that. And that's why I stepped back. And so I'm not involved in government at any level. I'm not working with the government. I'm not part of any ministry. But I'm still with my party. I love my party and I do what I can. I make whatever sacrifices and commitment to the party. But I honestly do not believe the rationale for coming up with $50 was fear of what may be said by people. Because we have already established on this program many times that leadership is not about the noise in the market. It's not about how much you jump up, but it's about keeping calm, assessing, analyzing, and doing the things that is going to bring benefit. And I will continue after we take this call because there's so much that I have to respond to.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning to you, Ms. Duncan.
Good morning.
Well, I missed you for a couple of days. It's not that you was absent, it's just that I've been busy.
Okay.
So,
don't worry, you're forgiven.
So I think since I know Friday you had the Senate sitting and so. And if you see Mr. Bola, tell him I say good morning.
If I see him,
if you see Mr. Bola, tell him I say good morning for me, please.
I go tell him when I see him.
Okay. Anyhow, I think in my mind, well, there's two issues I'm going to address. As it relates to this drama that's going on with the tablets, the government went out of the way. They spend monies that they don't have to get these tablets to give to our students, okay? If persons who are parents have problems, I think all they should have done was they should have buy their own tablet and give the maybe the ministry that they should upload the programs on it and case closed.
Yeah.
Because we have been for years been contributing $50 towards the same school book program, and now you have a tablet, which is an electronic device. You have more power in your hand. The student has more power in his or her hand. And it is not $50 plus $50 as what the minister said, which would make it $100. It's $150. Yeah. So there is no argument there. You know, people just decide to be foolish, and just to make talk that ain't making any sense. So if they want to pay the $50, I would say, and I think that the ministry should consider that. Okay, you don't want to pay the $50. You buy your tablet and then pay for them to install the program, and then it should cost them more, because every time you have an issue and the programmer has to deal with that, then the money should come from the parents' pockets, and that should just take care of all this long talk, I believe. Mm-hmm. And I want to run this one more thing, and then it's not related to this. I mean, it can be dealt with another time. I know there is this talk about this Manhattan thing, but here is my issue. Manhattan is supposed to be a sanctuary place for our national dove, so I'm not sure if you cut down the place and you just build things there. I'm not sure where the dove is going to go. I'm not sure if they migrate from one island to the next or a different part in the island. But I think if somewhere is designated as a sanctuary for animals, it should remain a sanctuary and there should not be any disturbance. But as I said, it's not a topic I want you guys to deal with today. Now we're dealing with the tablet issue, which is most important. And I think next week school is beginning to open. So if parents have their grievance, and they want a thing, you go in court or wherever, or go on Amazon, you buy a tablet, and you pay the people to upload the program on it for you, and then talk finish. And y'all have a good day.
Well, thank you so very much. We're going to deal with the issue of the tablets, and sometime next week, as you say, we're going to get someone who has a lot more idea and knowledge about the Mount Hartman project to give some further explanation. But I can simply just answer one thing, because I was the minister responsible for agriculture, lands, forestry, fisheries, and environment in the time when the bird sanctuary, the dove sanctuary, was earmarked. It was the Ministry of Agriculture who, working in collaboration with the other persons who were bent on the protection of the Grenadian dove, and we surveyed the area. So the entire Mount Hartman area is not the bird sanctuary. There is a place that is designated as the bird sanctuary, a particular place where they do the nesting and the laying that was discovered, that was studied, and that was earmarked, surveyed, and separated. And it has always been, from the time that happened, known to anyone or any group, any company, foreign or local, that wanted to invest in the Mount Hartman area, in the Mount Hartman project, as we may refer to it, that the bird sanctuary is untouchable. And this present group have accepted and agreed and signed on to the protocol that the bird sanctuary has to be protected. So that's all I would say about it now, for those who may have had the misunderstanding that the entire Mount Hartman area is the bird sanctuary. It's not. There's an area that has been designated, and it will remain that way. But just to continue from what the previous caller spoke about, some of the things that was mentioned, I mean, it is so important for us all. And we have said it repeatedly. We have said it in different ways. When we spoke about being your better self, when we are speaking about you are responsible for the end result of what happens to you at any particular time, that you, the destiny that you hope for, that you have the greatest part to play. We spoke to the fact, and you even coined it, that 70% of those of us that are in poverty, generational poverty and otherwise, 70% of that is more about mindset and what we believe and what we do and how we behave. And only 30% is situational. So we can change from what we are, from where we are, to a better place, to a better person, to a better family. We can achieve more, we can gain more, providing we are prepared to do things and take responsibility. We have another caller. Let's take them and then we'll continue.
Good morning, Mr. Bola.
Hi,
good morning.
Good morning. Bola, in the election campaign, the NFP made a promise that they will with the tablets for the school children. And I know the opposition was there, and this is they complained. Yes, the government NFP promised that, and they didn't fulfill it. Right? But now they're fulfilling the promise. They start complaining. Right? You know, sometimes in life, people, NFP helping people, but the NDC don't want to help. Right? They don't want you to help people. They don't do nothing to help the students of our country. But they condemn, when you help them, they condemn it. I want to say to the parents, $50 you cannot compare with the child education. And I want to say to them, when you look at what the government is doing to help advance your children, your child or your children, it was worth more than $50. Because many times who complaining is not the parents, but the opposition complaining because they see it is something good that the government is doing. Right? He's doing. But you know, there some people say, like, if it's not me are doing it, not I are doing it, it's a problem. But when them doing it, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
So I want to say to the government, yes, it is good. Some people might have it, but then, as the caller was saying, some of you want to go to the latest style, right? But then you cannot forsake the children and style yourself. You have to, because you didn't actually come into the world, but you bring them here. So you have to take care of them and make sure that you give them a proper education. So the $50, you cannot compare with the children education if you spend the $50 on them. Because a tablet you have $1,200. So then I want to say to them, you don't have to pay that money every month. It's just for a year. So I want to say to the parents, go ahead and do it because it's for the benefit of your children.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution. Thank you so much. Mr. Bola, and the caller is very right. It is about time that parents understand that an investment in your child's education is costly. At the end of every term, beginning of every term, you have your books to buy, you have bags and shoes and all of these things. It is costly, and we understand that. Government has made moves to assist parents who are needy. We have the voucher program, which provides assistance to parents who are in need of that assistance to send their children back to school. But furthermore, and I want to make this point here today, next September, the tablets will be $50 again. Don't wait until September to say you don't have $50 to pay for it. Please, start putting away a little dollar today, a little 10 cents today, a little 10 cents tomorrow. Put it in a jar and call it the tablet ecosystem fund. Give it whatever name you want to give to it.
Too long. Just education fund is enough.
Yeah, and start putting away a couple dollars, a couple cents, because it all adds up at the end of the day, and it can take care of a need. It can block a hole, as we often say. Because if at the end of this year, going into September of next year, we still come back with the same complaint, I ain't gonna be concerned, I'll be upset, because I don't see, and it's not, for some people, it's not even $50, Some people benefit more than others, because parents like myself, who's not a part of the book program, and have to go out there and buy all my child's school books, right? And then I still have to pay my $50 for the tablet. I'm not even complaining, you know?
And maybe you have.
Oh, that is what you feel.
I said, maybe.
No, and it's not that I have, but it's because I understand the significance of investing in my children, you know? And there are times when I don't have, but I find a way to make it work, Mr. Bola. And that's what you have to do. You have to find a way.
It doesn't bad beg me, no?
No, it doesn't bad beg you.
Okay.
At all.
Because I don't have for myself, so I can't give you. But you know, you're making a point. And we did establish that here very early when we mentioned about the tablets. We said, look, there are some of us who, for any 1 week, could spend upwards of $20 on phone credit. There are some of us as fathers who, for any 1 week, would spend upwards of $50 on drinking Guinness, beers, even smoking the stuff that we just had to buy there that some of us know is illegal, you know. But we do it because it's our hobby. It's what makes us feel good. We enjoy that. I'm on the block with the boys and we're drinking a couple of Guinness. And I am not advocating in any way, or neither did I advocate at that time, that you should stop. Maybe it's best if you do, for your health, for your family development and everything, that you concentrate more time and energy with your children. Rather than spending it with the boys on the block, spend it with your children, spend it with your mates, spend it with your wife, with your companion, with the lady who is bringing food, a new life into this world together with you. They need your time and energy. They need that money. They need to pay the $50 for the tablet. They need to get good shoes to go to school and all those things. I did say that. And while I'm not advocating that you should stop completely, you know, it's established that if you do, it's probably best. But I ask, please become conscious and say to yourself that I have 3 children that is in school. It may amount to $150 that we have to pay now for those devices. Why not skip 1 weekend of drinking and say that money I was going to spend, let me invest it in their education? Or if you can't skip a weekend, reduce the amount. So you normally between Saturday and Sunday would have drunk 10 beers or 10 Guinness or what have you.
Yeah.
Let me cut it down to 6, to 7. Let me save $15 this week or $20 this week and $20 next week. Because you are expecting other people to make a sacrifice on your behalf.
Yep.
You expect the rest of Grenada to spend their money, as the caller put it out earlier. Our tax dollars, mine and yours and all of us own. Yes, some of us pay more because we earn more. Some of us have more, so we need to pay more. But every single person, the dollar, the 50 cents, the $5 that they put, goes into the pot to help get what we are now going to receive. So we must show our appreciation by also making a sacrifice. And I said to some of these opponents out there, some people who are opposed to the new National Party, fine, that's your right. I'm not angry with you for being opposed. I'm angry with you for making people believe that what the government is doing is immoral and so wrong. That's what I'm angry about. You have a right to oppose. You have a right to speak out as an opponent of the party and the government when you see the government engage in activities that are detrimental to our people and our country. That is your right as an opponent. But when you see that the government is making an effort to do the things that will protect lives, that will educate our children, that will help pull our families out of poverty, because education is the vehicle that will take us poor people out of poverty, out of where we are, in the gutter, into a better place. Is it because you don't like poor people so much that you go out there and lava your mouth and go in street corners and go on at the homes and make them believe that the $50 contribution to ensure that the children have a device that is going to help them to get a better education and to uplift themselves in society is such a bad thing? That's what I'm angry about. We have another caller on the line.
Hi, good morning.
Yes, good morning to you.
Good morning.
I'm not calling him a co-host again. I have to give him A grade up.
Of course.
Good morning to the doctor.
The doctor.
Well, I hope I'm not just getting great up in name, but put a little something that will compensate me for the lifted position that you're giving me.
Now, as long as the crops is growing and making money,
yes,
it's going to come.
All right, thank you. Good morning to you. How are you today?
I'll tell you something. Listening to this conversation over the months, I have a concern.
Yes.
Being a past government employee, private sector employee and government employee, work with the system, out of the system today. I always advocate, and thank be to God the Prime Minister realized that and then went into what you call reserve. I always advocate that we find a way to have a surplus and to put away that surplus for rainy days, which I thought the government did.
Mm-hmm.
However, that surplus now is under tremendous strain. I am not one of the persons who feels that any government, should be giving parents those things. Tablets, computers, books, clothing, shoe, whatever. I think that is the responsibility of the parents, the fathers and the mothers. This gap is wide. In other words, as government struggles for money in this covidious time, they will have less to expand to give. Then what would the government do over the next maybe, let's say, 2 or 3 years with respect to expanding the program and having to give the same people who are now getting again and again and again. The question I'm asking, where would the finances come from to continue doing this? I did not get any money from government when I was growing my kids, neither my mother and my father. We purchased the books, we purchased the clothes, etc., etc. So I believe, in a nutshell, we have to find a way to allow people to earn and to be able to take care of their needs. In other words, take care of your responsibilities and do please. I'm not saying the government shouldn't help, but the government should not be taking all of that burden to be giving parents all of the things that they ask for, because we, the taxpayers, and all of us, the taxpayers, will not be able to fund the government to continue doing this. So I am saying that what we have to do at this point in time, it might be tough, but find a way out to empower people to do those things. And we're talking about mass employment. I'm talking about the growth of the infrastructure, the growth of the economy, to relieve the burden of problem. Because down the road, I'm seeing something. I'm seeing something. As people continue to complain. So we have to find a way now to nip it in the bud so that this thing could be stopped totally. Empowering people and giving people that responsibility to take care of the homes at all levels.
Okay.
I don't know if you see where I'm coming from.
Of course.
But it has to be the economy. And if we don't, eventually, what I'm saying, trust me, it will not be nice. Government have to recognize that, no, I said this to the Prime Minister in letters over the years, if you continue expanding these programs and wanting to give everybody $1 who had the dollar and didn't put aside the dollar, then eventually we're going to go under. All of us is going to suffer.
So true.
We have to get to a point to say, look, we give you a job, we give you the money, take care of yourself. If you fail to take care of yourself, I'll tell you something, there's nothing I can do at that point in time. We have to get to the point to say that. Other than that, we'll be sacrificing the whole society as a result of that.
All right. Great.
So I'm leaving this there as an idea that somebody can use.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you for your that caller is consistent in his call. And, to drift away from the direct subject of the tablet and the reopening of school, he's correct in that if the economy doesn't grow, but the dependency continues to grow, sooner than later, we're going to get to the point where we're going to run out. Similar to what had happened in, was it Spain and some of those countries in the EU, a year or two ago where they had to get bailouts all the time because in one of those countries, and I really don't remember exactly which one, where public servants were paid a pension of 100%, whatever their salary were. That's what they got as a pension, and they got to the stage where they could not even pay salaries, more or less pension.
Yeah.
You know, I'll research to remember which one of them, but it is in the European Union. And if we are not careful, which is what the caller is saying, we could end up in a very similar situation because the gap of dependency is widening, and with less coming into the barrel, and you have to give out more, the barrel will eventually become empty.
We have a call on the line. Good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Duncan.
Hi, good morning.
And Mr. Bola.
Good morning to you,
and
sir.
the listening public. Yeah, I just call in to weigh in a bit on the discussion, right, on the conversation at hand. And in respect to the tablet, you know, sometimes I just find it difficult to understand it. And sometimes some of the comments that I hear leave me breathless. And in respect to the $50 contribution that parents are asked to make towards the maintenance of the tablet or the ecosystem, is just, as Mr. Bola and you and others would have said, it's not just a tablet, but it's a complete package, right? And therefore, if parents were to obtain that all by themselves, I'm not sure that most would have been able to. But you are now asked to just contribute $50 towards that, and you are throwing your hands in the air and not expressing a willingness to pay. I mean, sometimes some of our children must or should judge us by our action, because I know for a fact that some of us as parents, we spend a lot more than $50 on things that are not absolutely necessary, right? And so on. And now that you're asked to contribute $50 for the obtaining of that device, of that ecosystem, right, to help your child's education, your child's advancement, and then you find that it's difficult, it's hard to pay this. So if I have my parents, and I mean as a child, and knowing what my parents are spending money on, and is now not willing, showing the unwillingness to pay the $50 for me to obtain that device to advance myself, then I would have to judge my parents, you know, and say, well, ask what kind of parents do I have? You know, we have to be more responsible. We cannot have a situation where parents do not want to take responsibility. And a lot of these parents who do not want to take responsibility continue to make children, you know.
Yep.
Continue to have children. So you don't want responsibility. You want somebody else to shoulder your responsibility, but you want to continue to have children. I mean, come on, we have to be more responsible. And I keep saying, and I would continue to say, that we need to change mindset in Grenada. We need to change mindset. Unless we continue to think the way we are thinking, we are not going to make any progress. It's going to take us a very, very long time. And the unfortunate thing is that some of us who you expect to know better or should know better and should be speaking to some of these parents and should be telling them, listen, you have to make the sacrifice. This is for the advancement of your children. This is for the betterment of your children and so on. Instead, they're poking, they're behind the scene pushing the fire.
Yeah.
That they said it was free and now they're charging $50. But I recall the same book program that we were talking about over the years. They say it was free, and then when parents are asked to pay $25 for administration or whatever you call it, okay, you should be expected to pay, because if you have been given whatever totally free, not asked to pay anything, no contribution, responsibility. Sometimes some of these books or some of these devices have been given to children, and they just don't take care of it. They just drop it. They just leave it anywhere, and and that kind of thing. Totally irresponsible behavior. We cannot continue to support this. We have to be responsible, and as parents, we must have a responsibility to our children and maybe grandchildren. But we have to be responsible. We cannot continue in that way. We just cannot continue that way. I mean, come on. We need to behave like civilized people. We need to behave like people that have sense and not demonstrate this kind of I mean, for want of a better word, this kind of uncivilized or jungle behavior, we cannot continue to behave that way, I have heard people talking a lot about the ecosystem, and the ecosystem is very important, right? As I say, we must strike a balance between our own existence and the ecosystem, meaning the environment, so the relationship between the environment, the living beings, and so on, and ourselves. But there is a project that has been proposed for Lever and St. Patrick's, and I'm calling from St. Patrick's. And 2 evenings back, there was a consultation via Zoom. And I have listened to some of the contributors, right? Some of the residents from the Lever Backway area, and other residents out of St. Patrick's. And some of the concerns that are raised were very legitimate concerns. And of course, the EIA would seek to address most of it. But there are those who outright don't want the project for whatever reason, and they would give you 1,001 reasons why this shouldn't be and why that shouldn't be, and so on and so forth. Because I don't know of any project, any construction, any building that is sustained or suspended in the air. I know everything has to have a base. You have to start from the ground. And development would have a cost. And I'm not saying that it should be development at any cost. What I'm saying is that we need that project, and we should do everything to mitigate the negative impacts, right, and so on. Because, for example, we are looking at the Ramsar site, which is a wet area of expanse of land. Then you have the turtle nesting area. Then you have the Livera Pond, and people express concern about access to the beach and what have you, and so on. And all these things, we were told, have been taken into consideration, and even more, some of the concerns that people would have raised. But you know what got to me was that the negative, the constant negative, those two consistently throw the negative. And some of them I know are fairly comfortable. So is it that, they don't care about those who are looking for jobs, for example, the young people or the farmers, because if you have this project materializing here in the north, and in my opinion, this could create tremendous opportunities for our people, And so that's what I'm saying. I'm coming back to mindset. I don't know how we think, how we look at things. And we always believe that the investors, especially foreign investors, they are coming and it's something they're coming for, something they see, something they want to take away this and that from us. But our people are here, and those who have the finances, those who have the money, are not investing. They are not doing anything. They're sitting on the laurel or whatever else they might be doing with their money, not investing. And then when we have an opportunity of people coming here, showing interest, then we want to go against it, And it's unfortunate that people cannot see the links and the connections and understand how an economy functions and so on, right? And because I could see if that project, for example, in Livera materializes that, as I say, it would change the economic landscape of St. Patrick, and not just St. Patrick's, Grenada as a whole, but in particular St. Patrick's. Because one of the farmers I heard was giving his contribution, and as a farmer, he was saying how important this project could be to them, while others who do little or nothing, all they specialize in is opposing, criticizing, condemning, But the farmer is saying, that would be a welcoming project, and so on. However, tomorrow, God's willing, I think a site visit is scheduled, right? There's a scheduled site visit, so people would actually see in practice what is happening there, right?
Wow.
Have a better appreciation of the...
So it's open to the public, or would it be specific individuals?
Hello?
Is it open to the public, or would it be specific individuals?
Okay, so from what I know, so the people who were invited to the consultation via Zoom, of course everybody could not have been invited.
Right.
But I want to believe that, yes, other people, once you could get there to the site,
Is there a particular time? Can you...
Yeah, well, I suppose, maintaining, of course, the physical distancing and, wearing your face covering and that kind of thing. But I think, yes, others could go there to see.
Would it be open all day for that kind of visit?
From 9:30, and I'm not sure how long the visit might, how long it might be for, but from 9:30 in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we need to, we need to see things differently. We need to see things differently. I sit with my children almost on a daily basis. In fact, only 2 nights ago, we had what we call a house meeting. And I've been saying to them, listen, we have to be creative and innovative. And we cannot blame anybody for our woes or for whatever, what happened or what didn't happen to us. We have to make things happen first. We have to create situations. You have to be inventive. You have to be creative. And that is the kind of thing that we have to instill in our young people and in our people in general. But it's appalling to hear people who should know better, as I said, engaging in this kind of nonsense, in this kind of shenanigan that is not helpful, that does not help us in any way. And some people are just bent on making mischief, political mischief, for whatever reason. And unfortunately, those unsuspecting ones just follow suit, just continue parroting and so on. Only last night, I had to beat back some propaganda, and sometimes people speak about issues that they don't understand. They haven't a clue of, we have to do better than that, So I compliment the government, and I felt sorry for the Minister of Education. I mean, this lady has to be on the program every so often, explaining and explaining, maybe the same thing over and over, trying to get people to understand. She has been very tolerant, and because sometimes the question that have been thrown at her, could maybe irritate, could incite one, but she's very patient and tolerant, and she takes the time to explain over and over, accompanied by her team from the Ministry of Education. And I must compliment these people. I must, the permanent secretary, chief education officer, and others that have been working along with her, been giving her the support that she needs, that the country needs, that they are giving support to our people, to our young people, to our children, to our nation in general. And things like that we have to appreciate. Just think about that e-learning, e-books, e-learning, and the cost to the government, right? The cost to the people of Grenada. But it's a cost that worth it. It's an investment in our people, especially in our young people, and so on. And we have to change our mindset. And just before I go, about 2 weeks ago, I was watching that video, that interview with this lady. I think her name is Griffith or something, Miss Griffith, and her 13-year-old daughter. And I must make mention of that because I discussed it with my children as well. And I listened to this young lady, 13 years, and her interview with them and so on, with the GIS. And I say, I said to my child, this is a bright prospect. This young lady speaks like a mature person. Yep. And the advice that she had to offer, I say, and that's what I'm looking forward to. This is how I want to see our young people, and so on. Very, very impressive, So I need us to take on a positive mind. Let us know that we have a responsibility to ourselves and to our children and to our country, right? It is not just left to the politicians or the government of the day, but all of us responsibility. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, caller. As per usual, that caller always makes some powerful points. Let's just say he made one point that people in Grenada with money don't invest. I'd like to qualify that by saying some people. Because there are some Grenadians that invest, maybe not necessarily in the tourism and hotel or the hospitality, as we call it, industry, but they do invest. There are people who spend the money on other things, maybe in a small, at a lesser level, but we do have some Grenadians that are investing. We have some who can probably do better than they're doing, can invest more, but they probably prefer to keep the money cold.
We have a call on the line. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Duncan. Good morning, Mr. Bola. How are you guys doing?
We're okay for today. Well, I am okay, and Ms. Duncan looks okay from where I sit.
I'm okay.
Very good program. Very, very good program. I must commend you all on the programs you all are having these days. They're very good program, very enlightening program, very informative programs. And but I want to just say something on the about the tablets and the $50.
Yes.
And I don't see why people are having an issue with a registration fee of $50 for a tablet. Some of these same people, if you look at the phone that they're carrying, people that have a regular job cannot afford it. And if people could invest, they could buy a phone at that cost. They could invest in their children's education. $50 is nothing to invest in your child's education. You're getting a tablet that's compact with the books and resources that the child needs. You know how much that would have to that would have cost you if you had to do the total thing for yourself? A tablet Yes, there are varying prices for a tablet, but the cheapest tablet you might get is over $200 or 100 and something dollars, you know, and $50 a year is nothing to invest in your child's education, and that is just a part of it. You could teach your child to save every day. You give them something, you teach them. My little grandson, he has 2 jars of coin because he saw a toy that he wanted to buy. And he say every time you have $1, he gonna take it. That is to go towards his toy. You know, so he's not going to get into the snack and into the ice cream and stuff because he's saving it because he know what he wants. And we have to teach children, you want this, you have to be able to contribute towards it. You know, so $50, people have to know where the priority lies. You know, you may have to leave out something that you don't really need, that you want, and you don't really need to get that tablet. You know, people talking about poverty in Grenada and unemployment, but right now, everybody that's talking about agriculture and government, if they are serious about unemployment, they could create jobs. Everybody is sitting down there and waiting on the government. You're talking agriculture. They want the minister, they want the prime minister to take them and bring them in the land to work. Okay, if there's a vacancy for farmers, then our people in the agro industry, GDB is giving loans for people that want to invest. So I don't see we have such a big problem here in Grenada. I mean, if you look at a country where there are poverty, I mean, that you could call poverty. But in Grenada, there is help. The government has made it, you know, available for people to access resources to help themselves. And everybody, government cannot employ everybody. There is nowhere in the world that government can employ everybody. And some of the richest country, the country with the most resources, are some of the poorest set of people, you know? So Grenadians, what we're very lucky here, you all have to travel to some of these countries, see people sleeping below the bridge. At least you could go and get a breadfruit or 2 grain of fig from somebody here. We don't have this kind of poverty here that people, you know, everybody, every time the opposition jump, oh, the government is not doing enough for the people and the government is not doing enough for agriculture. Oh, and the government, you know, poor people. Where the poor people? There's so much land. Go on, you know, if they're talking about the agriculture and there's so much into, then do some agro processing plants and employ people. You can't wait on government to do that. You can't wait on government to do. Everybody have a little piece of space where they could plant something and, you know, and get $2 out of it. So people have to take the initiative and do things for themselves to develop themselves. You know, if somebody come and tell you, look, you know, the government have this program, but that program is meant to keep you down. And you to yourself, you have to think. You have to think, who is helping me and who is trying to keep me down? You know, if the government have a program that's going to help you to reach halfway, and somebody come and tell you, don't take it, remain where you are. Who is trying to help you and who is trying to keep you down? People have to learn to think. People have to invest, even if you have to walk with one shoe or no shoe, to invest in your children's future, because at the end of the day, these same children would come back and thank you. And they themselves, remember, you're getting old. You may have to rely on them one day. So do what you can for them now. So tomorrow they would be able to help you and help society. And they wouldn't, you know, they're blaming society just like, you know, the other people that the government didn't do that for me. Do not, I used to always tell my children, and Duncan can say that, always get into a field that you don't have to ask somebody for a job. Because when you put your life in the hands of people, you're in trouble. So now you have opportunity to get into the agricultural field because the COVID and, you know, I hear somebody say that the shelves are empty. We don't know what is going to happen. We don't know Trinidad is on lockdown. And, you know, only yesterday I see they had like 4 deaths or 4 or 5 deaths in 24 hours from COVID. And we don't know what's going to happen. So people should, okay, get into the agro processing plant now. Get some cows and start making milk. Get some goats and start making milk. You know, and all the people out there that have the money, put your money where your mouth is and don't wait on government and let people believe that government have the power to do everything for them. It's nonsense now. You know, so we have to do what we can for ourselves. Mr. Bola and Ms. Duncan, enjoy your holiday.
Thank you
Bye.
so much. We appreciate your calling. Thank you for your call. I don't think people will put their money where their mouth is. People prefer to put their money in the bank and other places. I don't know where the other places are, but I don't think it's in their mouth at all, at all, at all. Some valuable contributions, but you know, we always have to remember that to get where we want to be, we cannot continue doing the same things we have been doing.
Yeah.
If the same things have not been working, we have to try something different. And people definitely in our country have forgotten what the word sacrifice, you know, making sacrifice, becoming committed and having the right attitude and approach towards achieving what we want. Those things have gone out of the window. It is a dependency syndrome that has been growing exponentially in our country. Yeah. Everyone thinks that because they know you or they once did something for you, they voted for you, they campaigned for you, you now owe them a livelihood. And while I do accept and believe fundamentally that politicians and those of us who are in the seat of authority, those who have been given the responsibility to care for and run the country, should be empathetic to people's situation and must provide a platform from which these people, our people, the Grenadian people, must be able to carve out a little survival out of society. But you do not have the sole responsibility for doing everything. Only this morning, I had a nice talk with a young lady. Yes, and I hope she understood what I was saying, because she called me yesterday afternoon and she was mad, crazy mad. I know her very well. She doesn't even live in the constituency where I live. She's from another constituency. But she has been a pillar of support for the New National Party. She has always been there. Whenever she's called, sometimes I even call her when I need information or need something done. Her daughter is in the Imani. And the daughter have decided, listen, it's probably best if I can engage myself in doing some advanced studies, and of course would have gone online, looked up what UWI has been offering, distant learning, and applied, and has to pay some money. The mother is not well off. They, live with their grandmother. The young lady lives with her grandmother, and the mother lives there as well. But they made an application to the government grant or assistance service to help get the tuition fees paid. And I think it was yesterday they were told, well, you're not qualified or you couldn't get through or so. And she called me and she said, this is the crazy thing that I don't like, And she was, in some ways, correct with some of the information she gave. Because there are people who slip through the system. Yeah. There are people who fall through the cracks that should not be falling through the crack. There should be a support system to collect them and help them. And we have to admit and accept, as an administration and a government, there are some cracks that some people who are most in need fall through and need to do something about it. And there are others who slip through the tight gates that you set up because there are protocols. There's a reason why some people qualify and why others don't. And some people are able to bend down, to slip under because they are in a better position. But they and their children get through and get help. Not that government shouldn't be trying to help everybody, but there are always some people that will be in greater need than others. Yes? I mean, I know her case. I cannot appeal for her. I'm not in government. I can't speak on her behalf, but I know her situation. The point I'm making here is that she got really angry and she said, and I had to say to her, I said, listen, while government is there and they will provide some assistance, they do not have that responsibility legally. It is not a legal responsibility for government to provide and give you anything, to help you pay for school fee and to help you pay for that. No, it is not a legal responsibility. right, out of concern and care and wanting to ensure that there is a balance in society, that both the haves and the have-not can survive, that both those at the top of the ladder and those at the bottom strata of the ladder can coexist. Maybe not eating the same food or sleeping in the same comfortable bed, but at least must all get that basic right to survival. Government owes that to every Grenadian. So if you did not get through, what is now needed for you to do is sit with your daughter, have a discussion, let her realize that, we tried, but we didn't get through. We weren't able to make it on the lease. You didn't get the assistance. And maybe we don't have the money to pay it this year. But let's start preparing as of now for next year if we should survive. Let's start putting a little something into a special account, as you mentioned, into a little jar, into the credit union, into the bank, that we can call education account. So come next year at this time, we can be able to pay the tuition. Maybe you might pay the first semester. Maybe somebody may see your situation and what you're doing and be willing to help you. Maybe by then the government may understand your situation much better and may give you some assistance. But we cannot just sit there and believe that government has that responsibility legally to do everything for us and give everything to us that we need. Absolutely not true. But there's another side to this whole coin, because when some of us as men, some mature, some immature, some of us senior enough to know better, goes out there and impregnate these little teenagers, 13 and 14-year-olds, who bring a child into the world, when that child is 12, 13, or 14 into a secondary school, what is the age of the mother? 26, 28, 24? Who is still a child themselves? How well prepared and developed is that person's mind, their brain, their social standing to understand what their roles and functions are? And our society, not only do we see them get pregnant, we talk about it, women's groups speak about it, people talk about abuse of young children sexually and otherwise. But where is the support system? Yeah. How many of us comes across and then hold that young lady by the hand and say, hey, you have misstepped. Only recently I heard on the news, I think it was 2 nights ago, that the Ministry of Education is getting and re-entering that zone where they want to once again bring on stream the need to allow the re-entry of young ladies who've got pregnant in school back into the school system. Mm-hmm. I know that is going to bring a debate, but I'm happy that they are ready to start the consultation, to hear the no's and the years and the no. Those who are for, those who are against, and bring everything into that melting pot, and we come to a decision that may not be one that everyone agrees to, but one, of course, that everyone understands the reason. Yeah. And so the dialogue must begin. Because I feel pity for some of these young ladies. Because a lot of us as the men, we drop the seeds there and we disappear. We never stay to mold. We never stay to clean. We never stay to continue the fertilization and to make sure that they grow proper and they get the help. So there are among us a few parents whom, while we believe honestly that $50 is not too much to ask as a registration, as a payment once a year for the use and for the services that the device will provide, there will be a few among us that may not at all be in a position to pay. And society and government through the system, social services, the education system, have to seek out, have to find these people, have to make a study of them, have to build a file on them. Because I am one who have always proposed that whoever is going to get governmental assistance, whatever that assistance may be, there must be a file on the individual or the family. Because down the line, you must be able to return to that file to show what was the cause and effect. Why did you help family A and not family B? Because the records, the paper trail must show family A was assisted because family A was at this point at the time. Family B was at a better position, and we felt with the limited resources, it would have been better spent on family. What is the follow-through? And some time ago, somebody did call and make that point. Yes, government is helping, and they're not against that. But sometimes there's no follow-through. The systems are disjointed, where social services provide monies for bus for school and books and uniform for children, but the truancy officers don't follow through because the children don't go to school. Yeah. Who must ensure that when the government invests its resources, which is very limited, very scarce, into a particular family, into a group of students, that we get maximum for it? And now we're talking education, because there are other areas that we can talk about that has a similar situation. So I'm saying, look, government is doing well, they're trying, but there are still some gaps. There are still some things that we need to do, that we need to look in to ensure that the entire cake is being baked properly and sliced properly, and that everybody gets a taste of that pie.
But also, Mr. Bolo, we have to factor in the aspect of personal responsibility. And
of course, surely.
When does that come in? You know, because in everything that we are speaking about here, in everything that we have discussed, there is that element of personal responsibility that must be taken into consideration, especially for the success of any of these social programs, any of these initiatives given by government, any of these education initiatives that are being done by the Ministry of Education. There is that factor of personal responsibility. When do we draw the line and understand that we are the ones responsible for getting us from point A to point B? When are we going to realize that it is not the job of the government to hold our hand and walk us to success? They must provide the enabling environment, and we've said that here multiple times. They must provide the environment, an economic environment where we can learn to build ourselves, where we can make moves for us to grow and develop. But it is not their responsibility to create these it's really not their responsibility to give us all of these things they're really giving us, you know.
No, it's not.
It's not.
Legally speaking.
I mean, and I know it's a hard thing to hear, and people may kick back and say, hey, well, if they're not their responsibility, what is? Their responsibility is ensuring that the economy of the country is ripe enough for personal growth and development of the people, you know. That is what it is. And through personal growth and development, that is how the economy builds and grows even further. So if they have to spend and take all of these money and these resources and put it back into the same pockets of the people who are supposed to be developing themselves to help develop the country, and then we start complaining about investment, and we start complaining about loans, and we don't want to take this from this person, and we don't want to take that from that person, there is a reason that these things are happening, because government is providing all of these social programs, all of these opportunities for you to develop yourself. You're not taking them. You're leaving. You're remaining in the same sorry state that you are in. And then at the end of the day, you turn around in the same mountain, or you turn around and say, "Oh, a government trying to sell the country. Oh, a government go put us into debt. We children got to be paying debt until they dead." You understand? But have you ever sat and considered the reasoning behind this? We speak about agriculture every day, but we send our children to TAMCC to do hospitality arts, and we send our children to TAMCC to do administrative work. But
and
we
nothing
speak
is
about
wrong with that, eh?
And nothing is wrong with that.
No.
But we are speaking about agriculture and that it needs to develop. We're talking about, oh, there's too much tourism, but we are sending our children into a college to do these kind of jobs that facilitate the growth of tourism. You understand? So we are feeding into these things, but yet still we turn and we say, oh, government not doing nothing first. Oh, too much hotels. Well, who's going to buy from the farmers? Right now, farmers are complaining that they have wastages, you know, because they've planted so much over the COVID time. They've planted so much, but we Grenadians were not buying it. The hotels who usually take...
They buy limited
amount. The hotels who usually take the majority of these things off their hands, the meat, the vegetables, the fruits, all of these things, they're not there. They're not there to do it. So people are coming, they're investing in our country. Even that Livera project. Can you imagine what it would do for the farmers in St. Patrick when this hotel...
And part of St. Andrews as well.
And part of St. Andrews.
When
St. these farmers now will have that avenue where they can sell their produce and they don't have to come all the way to St. George's.
Think about St. David's. when this hotel comes on stream in St. David's, what it will do for the people of St. David's and the farmers and so.
Exactly. So
think about the
sometimes,
Mount Hartman project, which I understand, and we need to get more clarity. We need to get more explanation.
but I did hear the minister yesterday mention that they have already considered making reservations for a habitat for those birds.
No, but the bird has its sanctuary. There's lands that has been earmarked and subdivided. Is the commitment that they won't touch it. They have said
wouldn't
so.
touch it, yes.
They wouldn't go into it, but they can further protect it. They can do more to help it.
Yep.
Yes? So it's not about getting a place for it as a sanctuary.
It's protecting what is already there.
It's a protective
And you
area.
see, these are the things that we really need to hold them accountable to. The promises that they make to us. Okay, we're not going to block off the beaches. Right, you've said it. We have it on record that you're not going to do it. But if it does happen.
But in Grenada, it is illegal.
It is illegal.
Based on the laws on the books to block.
It is illegal. A beach.
And entrance to a beach.
Yep.
No one has that authority.
They are not by law required to provide a road to the beach.
To the beach.
But it is illegal to block the beach.
Definitely
That much is certain.
Right. So if there's an existing roadway,
then people can utilize
it. And if there's some trouble with the roadway because it passes through private property and whatnot, consultation, deliberation, government's involvement can either now create from acquisition, from purchase, and make a public pathway that people can pass. But no one has the authority to block any
and you see, these are the things
access.
These are the things that the opposition will not explain to their people because they just want them to believe that, okay, this is what is being done, be angry about it, make noise about it, with the hopes that you're going to sway the people into believing that wrong things are happening and corruption is happening and so on. And when further explained, now everybody sit down with their hands between their legs because, oh, well, I never know that, because you didn't take an interest in finding out, in making it your duty to find out. I look at social media. Social media is littered with a whole set of nonsense of people just saying all kinds of things with no grounds for which. I looked at a video yesterday of an individual talking about, oh, the country is in shambles, and I want to know where in the country is in shambles. The whole of Grenada is in shambles. I am not in shambles. I live in Grenada, unless I live in a different part of a different Grenada. I am not in shambles. I have plenty friends who are not in shambles. The problem is we are making it out to seem that government must now provide everything that we need. And once they have not done it, they have not done their job. And you see, once we get rid of that mindset, once we start realizing as a people that it is our responsibility, personal, individual responsibility, to take care of ourselves and our homes, make sure that we secure our future and secure the future of our children. Once we get into that mindset, we can reach very far. Government could come and government could go.
Well, government
and the people
will come and will go.
And the people will continue to grow because we are goal-oriented. Yes. And that is the mindset we need to have. You must be goal-oriented. I remember when during the election time when the opposition started talking about, all they need to do is give people handouts, and they called the people of Grenada what? Needy and greedy.
Well, some people
you understand.
Opposition, so.
But now they are saying that not enough is being done for the people of Grenada. When
not enough is being done for the needy and the greedy.
For the needy and the greedy. When there are so many social programs that are there to assist them. When in actuality those monies could be better spent. If people would
otherwise spent. I prefer to say otherwise spent. Yes.
If people would just take whatever it is that they are granted and build from there yes. and not use that as a crutch to continue
to
depending on.
To help, yes.
We have a caller on the line. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. I'm sorry for breaking your rules.
Good morning.
Mr. Bola is going to beg pardon for me, I know. But I have to intervene. You says when the hotel is constructed in St. David's, what will happen to the people of St. David's? Let me tell you, I want 3 more hotels in St. David's.
Oh, no. Hold on. When I said what would happen, I didn't mean bad things would happen. We were just talking in the context of the improvement in sales for the farmers, yeah. And that's the context in which we were speaking.
That's my Bible.
Yes.
That's my Bible. You should have read it maybe a lot of years ago.
Okay.
But I could tell you where I want the hotels not only won the 3, but I could tell you where I won the hotel.
Where you want them to be?
And if we get 3 more hotels, we're saying amen. Let me tell you something. We go put up roadblocks, say, welcome to St. David's, but you have to have your passport.
All right, your green card.
So, with respect to the roads, I did propose that to Mr. Bowen a few years ago. Tracks leading to beaches are classified as roads over a period of time.
Yes.
And therefore the governments should reserve the right to, either by way of donation or compulsory acquisition, to open a road not narrower than 12 feet or 14, let's say 15 feet as an access, proper access to that beach. And whereas you might be the landowner who might be selling properties, you will not be able to sell properties without putting a road leading to the beaches as you sell the parcels. And if you decide to do the road on your own as a landowner, once you put that road down by law, that road automatically become a public road where the government is responsible. So there is no getting away to say, well, I purchased the land, it's my land, and yes, I'll track access, and nobody has the right to. No. That is waived. You will not be given the right to say to deny anybody because you have a track. And yes, you allow the track, but you will not allow a road. No. So if you decide to put the road on your own, fine, it's your money. But once you put the road down with the width specification, that road automatically become a public road, and therefore the government take responsibility for it. That should be a law on our books. It should be there maybe 50 years ago. It is late, but just should be there as soon as possible. And then we get rid of this road problem to beaches forever.
All right.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Bola, I just want to read some of the comments on the Facebook and on the WhatsApp. One person is saying development is good, but it should not be done to detriment to the detriment of the environment. There must be sustainable development which encompasses preservation and conservation measures. We cannot destroy our sustenance.
Thank you. That's true. We always talk about having a balance. Yes.
Another comment says, this gets me so angry. How can any caring parent not appreciate the effort of the government? $50 a year is minimal for a year to maintain and replace the devices. The freeness culture must stop, and the politicians need to stop using issues like that to exploit the people. Another comment, or a comment on the WhatsApp, it reads, good morning, Ms. Duncan and Mr. Bola. I want to make a reference that some Grenadians might understand. I want you guys to ask the question, when some of us buy an Amazon Fire Stick, do we buy it not programmed or programmed? I can't call, but I'm listening on my wireless earbuds. The Fire Stick comes not programmed, and we have to pay $50 to program.
To program it, yes, I do.
And we still have to pay the $200 for the Fire Stick.
And then sometimes when there's an upgrade, you take it, because sometimes I go about my own to a gentleman in the mall to get a software upgrade. Not for free, but for a cost. So that person made a very, very good analysis there of it.
Someone else on the live video said, everyone makes mistakes. Show me a man who has not done wrong. They're ungrateful, bad when things don't go their way. They blame everyone. Mr. Bola, as time goes down, I quickly want to say, yesterday I listened to Mrs. Bernadine on an interview, and
wasn't it to the point? I think?
To the point.
Yes, that's right.
And in not so many words, she tried to blame government. Oh Lord, I'm laughing now, but it wasn't funny then. I was peeved when I heard it. She tried to blame government and the education system for the level of aggression, and I believe that's what she said, the level of aggression and what was it? Aggression and something else. Conflict management, lack thereof, among our young people. And she alluded to the fact that when they were in government, they got all these booklets and so on and whatever. And I wanted to call, and I was a little bit disappointed I didn't get an opportunity to call. But since I have this platform, I want to make it absolutely clear that as a politician and as a former educator, I was disappointed in her. Because as a former educator, she should be informed of what we call the hidden curriculum, which deals indirectly with these kind of conflict resolution issues, which deals with the teaching of values and so on. But as a politician, I was even more disappointed in her because as a politician, she should know, or she should understand, or she should encourage that it is not government's duty to deal with these kinds of issues. And I'll tell you why I say that. The education system, as I keep repeating here, is every teachable moment that your child is exposed to. So aggression has a starting point. It doesn't just happen. A child doesn't just go to school one day and come home aggressive. There are always signs and there are always signals. What we should be focusing on is not blaming or trying to find a way to blame government and say, oh, well, if we did there, we'd do. What we need to start doing is having these open consultations with parents as leaders in society to try and hone in on why these aggressive behaviors are not picked up at an early age from the home. And then we need to start engaging people in society that are coined as leaders, whether they are politicians, whether they are members of the church, whether they are educators in society, whether they just hold an influence. They are leaders. And they must identify that as a leader, they have a responsibility to the people. And that's why I always say, when you are in a leadership position, it's not for what you can get in, but for the service that you can provide.
Definitely.
And you have to see this as a matter of service. Because at the end of the day, when you look at a young man on the street being aggressive and you say, oh, well, the education system has failed him, you look at him and you try to point a finger in another direction to say that somebody else is responsible for this aggression. While that might be the case, you have done nothing to try and rectify that issue.
But you have another 3 fingers pointing back at you.
And you have another 3 fingers. So the question is, what have you done?
What have I done to help that situation?
What have you done to help that child? I pass this young man, I see this young man is aggressive. I see this young man always in a fight. Have I ever had a conversation with this young man to figure out...
Well, have you ever attempted to?
Or attempted to figure out if it's something in the home, if it is something that he's battling with in secret, that is giving these aggressive tendencies? What is it? See, we find it so easy to say government.
Well, it is the convenient thing to do, especially if you are in an opposing position to the government. The most convenient thing is to blame the government for everything.
Of course.
Taking away from parents, from society. It is said a long time ago, it was said that it takes a community to grow a child. So the community has no responsibility. The parents has no responsibility. You continue to create the environment of dependency syndrome. And then you turn around when it is most convenient to you, Ms. Bonadine and others, to blame the government for creating this helplessness in society because we give too much. NNP is good at giving handouts. That's what you say all the time, repeatedly, over and over. But when it is convenient, you turn around with the other side of your mouth to say, well, enough is not being done for these people. And I am not going to say that they should not get assistance. We make that quite clear all the time. There are just some people in society that whatever you do, they are going to be on the lowest end.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to find a way to pull them up from where they are. But you cannot, when it suits you best, take all responsibility away from them and put it at the laps of government, in the laps of government, because it is convenient for you to do that. it brings political expediency to you. Because people, oh, this is a nice lady. You hear what she say? The government is not doing all that they're supposed to do. When you know that you cannot build a society with a firm and moral standing by putting every bit of responsibility in the hands of government. Yeah. And this government has repeatedly said, look, there are things government are good at doing and running and creating, and there are some things that we must let it be done by other people. And so the government has always said what is for the private sector, what is for the home should be for the home, with support from government. My friends, wonderful program today. In my opinion, we have been touching on some real issues that I think needs, and we need to continue to touch on them, because it touches and concerns a lot of issues morally and otherwise in our society, the place where we have to live, the place where we grow our children, the place where we hope to spend our golden years, all of us. We want to make it a better place. However, though we are out of time today, it was a pleasure being with you. I thank all those who have called and contributed, those who have listened. You are free to send us your notes, your comments, whether by Facebook, by WhatsApp, whatever way. Even if you can't call, we would read them, we would assess them, we would analyze them, and we'll try to respond to those we can if we have to. So, do have a wonderful Wednesday. The time has come when we need to disappear from you.
All right, guys. And remember, the Minister for Education will be giving a national address tonight at 8 o'clock. So all involved parties who it affects most, parents, teachers, principals, guardians, whoever you may be, please tune in and listen. Most importantly, listen. At the end of it, you shouldn't be saying, well, I don't know what they say there, or I can't remember, or you have to be asking somebody a question that has already been answered. Listen, take notes, and then if you don't understand, ask a question. Guys, it's always a pleasure being here with you. As we say here every day, in whatever you say and whatever you do, be safe, be secure. We always want to be talking with you. We don't ever want to be talking about you. Please do enjoy the remainder of your day and stay tuned for the National Report.
Commercial complex to be constructed in St. Andrew. We'll have details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Tuesday, September 1st, 2020, I am Rikisha St. Louis. Government is moving forward with plans to construct a commercial complex in St. Andrew, which will house all government revenue offices and departments. The Grenville Commercial Complex will also house small businesses, as office spaces will be available for rent. During the government's weekly post-cabinet briefing, Infrastructure Development Minister Honorable Gregory Bowen said the intention is to rent various levels so that money spent to construct the building can be recovered after a few years.
It's where we put in the building in Grenville that will house all government's revenue offices and on a particular floor, and we'll be renting at a floor out. There is an anchor tenant already for that floor, so we hope that within 20 years, let us even put 30 years, that we will recover most of the monies from rental and we will get our own use of it. Because if you look at the district revenue offices in St. Andrew and Grenville, it's really in a deplorable state. We could have the Postal Corporation coming in and use something, a statutory body, but in good business, they will pay the normal rent. They have a portion of land that will be utilized, so all of these things will be factored into the rent that they will pay.
Vendors are currently occupying the area that is designated for the complex. According to Minister Bowen, consideration is being given to relocating the small business owners and vendors.
We are looking for a location to put the small businesses. A matter of fact, should we construct a quick wooden structure to put them in? We were not aware that there were as many as 20. That was not reported. But assuming you're correct, we're certainly looking and working with them to replace them for the time being. Whether or not the compound, will facilitate them after in a beautiful way, yes, that is being looked at in the design. Some of them, though, when you look and discussing with them at the cost, they'll now have to pay a rent. And that may be outside of the financial capacity with the small businesses that they're doing. So a small area must be made for them. And that is given due consideration.
More than 50 jobs are expected to be created during the construction phase. Minister Bowen has confirmed that the tendering process is currently underway. Once completed, the cost and duration of the project will be announced. Continuing the news, 31 Grenadian men left the island via Air Canada flight on Monday to take up employment on the Virgin Thompson farm in Quebec. The opportunity comes as part of the Canada Caribbean Seasonal Agricultural Program facilitated by the Ministry of Labour. The group consists of first-time workers to the program as well as those who have been recalled as a result of their excellent work skills and attitude. Labour Minister Honourable Peter David says the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic slowed the process somewhat, but he is happy to see an increase in the number of men who will be employed in Canada.
It has been difficult since COVID because with the onset of COVID, the Canadians have had to pull back. Remember, the program is dependent on the farmers in Canada coming to Grenada and choosing the workers off of a list that we have at the ministry. There have been some difficulties since COVID, but happily for us and happily for the persons who are engaged in the program, the farmers have restarted the program, and some left today, and I want to wish them well. We met with them, the ministry met with them, and hopefully this program will pick back up the kind of pace it had in the past to provide employment and training to many of our young people.
David Jardin of Guave St. John has been employed in the program for the last 15 years. He says the key to being successful on the farm is to adhere to the rules.
I work at Vegetarian. I pick fruits like apples and so forth. You have some people, sometimes they go to work, the farmer might give them something to do. Whether yes or no, you cannot do it. You never tell them you can't do it. They say you can do something, you go and do it. Like this, you cannot do it, so then they will show you the right way to do it. And that things I do. See, like most of the time I might be on the farm doing something and the farmer might come and say, David is not so, and then I just turn over and I do just what he tells me to do.
Joseph Max Edwards of River Sally St. Mark said the journey is his third, and he believes that young men should make use of this financially rewarding opportunity.
The program involves betterment for future as a young man, and increase that, if you have a family, increase the betterment to come in more properly for you. Understand? And the opportunity I get, I wish everybody could get it and focus in whatever they come in to do. Make it a progressive thing for them and for the family. The first time I get called, I didn't know what I expected, but based on the procedure I go through and the vibes I going through and the knowledge I get in from other people, seems like a very good thing. And I find a lot of young people should take part in it and better their life.
First-timer to the Canada Caribbean Seasonal Agriculture Program, George Dennis, is prepared for the challenge ahead.
This is my first time traveling to Canada on this farm work project, and I heard about it through a friend. He signed me up, which I did not know about. That is ASP Old Dumber. And when he called me and told me, well, look, Dennis, I had signed up for you for a contract. I was like, he said, yeah, you're going on a farm work project in Canada and I want you to give me my best. He said, I know you're a guy you had working and you could give me your best. I say, well, boss, it's only the best is good enough for me, And I go in out there to give them my best shot, make Grenada proud at the end of the day. Have a set of guys with me. I'm going to inspire them because I'm a motivator and I'm going to motivate them. See that we hold the flag Grenada flying high and do what we have to do and do it to the best of our ability.
This is the National Report. The news will continue after the break.
The house was shaking. Then suddenly saw we hear bang, crack, and the roof had gone.
Man, I was so scared, I nearly wet myself.
Only those who have lived it can truly understand the devastating fury of a hurricane's wind.
The house across the road just get up and roll over.
Hurricane force wind. It's a hazard. Hazards. Take control. Reduce your loss. You can hurricane-proof your home. For example, make your roof more wind-resistant by using screws instead of nails in its construction. Find out more about hurricane force winds and other hazards at your local disaster office.
A message from the National Disaster Management Agency and SEDERA.
Welcome back. Minister for Transport and Implementation, Honorable Gregory Bowen, says there are plans to conduct a major study on the transportation sector in Grenada and the region. The intention is to determine how public transportation can be sustained during a health and after a disaster.
If you look at those countries with public transportation, what happened? They came out. They had to be there so that at least the public can get transportation. We're not saying the construct should be public, private. It could be a limited amount of public, vehicles plying along so that at least after a pandemic, a health crisis, you can have something. I'm just saying public, but it could be a private person undertaking that as well, but who will not say, or who cannot say in the agreement that I will not operate, who must operate in a pandemic, obviously with the help of the Ministry of Health and the protective equipment so they can function. That study will be undertaken, and also everything, the rates and so forth, all the things that the bus operators are asking for now, and we have told them so, will be considered in that study.
The People's Republic of China extends its generosity to the 15 constituencies with the donation of greenhouses as it continues its efforts towards aiding Grenada in fighting the effects of COVID-19 and climate change. Karima Lewis has more in this report.
1 week after the People's Republic of China donated to the Ministry of Agriculture 2 semi-automated greenhouses, its generosity was extended to 15 farmers from the different constituencies throughout the island, as the government of Grenada, through the Ministry of Agriculture, encourages protective agriculture technology in farming, considering the effects of climate change. The farmers were on hand to receive the greenhouses at a short ceremony at the Youth Centre last Friday. Together with the Minister for Agriculture, Honorable Yolande Bean Hosford, present for the handover were Minister for Youth, Honorable Kate Lewis, Minister for Social Development and Housing, Honorable Delma Thomas, Minister for Foreign Affairs, Honorable Peter David, and Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Tobias Clement. Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the People's Republic of China, Dr. Zhao Yangshan, says that this assistance aids in government's efforts to modernize agriculture.
As we all know, agriculture is one of the pillar industry of Grenada. The sustainable development of agriculture related to the economic recovery, food security, and farmers' livelihood. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Dr. Roy Honor Case Mitchell, the Grenadian government has adopted a stimulus package to reopen the economic and revitalize agriculture production. This donation of the 15 greenhouses donated by our embassy this time covers every constituency of Grenada and goes in line with Grenadian government's reform to modernize agriculture sector, enhance climate resilience, and improve farmers' livelihood.
Minister for Agriculture, Honorable Yolande Bean Hosford, says that this donation fits in well with efforts that are being made by the ministry in curbing the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Ladies and gentlemen, the gifts being handed over today fits nicely
with the ministry's plan of increasing the use of protective agriculture structures for food production. It is therefore incredibly fortuitous that these gifts are being given to us at this time as we deal with the negative impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic on our food and nutrition security. The ministry has ensured that the beneficiaries of these greenhouses were selected based on objective and just criteria, ensuring that they will be used effectively. Friends, this government is always looking at ways of meeting the needs and addressing the challenges of the agriculture community as it contributes so significantly to the socio-economic well-being of this country. Our key strategy in the effort to overcome the challenges that face the sector is that of collaboration and partnership. The People's Republic of China has been collaborating and partnering with us in many of our interventions, thus making the task a little bit easier.
One farmer, Darrell David, expresses his gratitude for the donation of the greenhouses.
As a former student of the Men Empower program, I was given the opportunity to start a small business with seedlings hatchery, in which I am ever so grateful. Thus, I extend special thanks to Minister Honorable Yolande Bain Hasford for selecting me from our constituency to receive the greenhouse. I am indeed overly grateful. We assure you that not only ourselves, but others in the constituency will benefit from the greenhouse. Again, we express great thanks.
For the Ministry of Agriculture, I am Karima Lewis.
That story just ended the national report for today, Tuesday, September 1st, 2020. Let's recap the top story. Commercial complex to be constructed in St. Andrew. On behalf of the entire news team and production team here at the Government Information Service, I am Rakisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.
To date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name.